They will do exactly the same as they did to Penrith 2 years ago on this particular ground. They will try to batter the Australian side in the opening 10 minutes. It'll be a big question for Tim Sheens. When does he send out the message to let them have the freedom? We saw last year the ability of this West Tigers outfit. They love to keep the ball alive. They're very quick from the play the ball area, and they will try to target the heavier Bradford pack. But in these games, it's all about power. First 10 minutes will be very interesting indeed.
Justin Harris is about to get this World Cup Challenge underway, and our brand new year of rugby league here on Sky Sports. Here we go, and it'll be fascinating to see how this match transpires over the next 80 minutes. West with first use of the football, and that is Ryan O'Hara who takes the tackle from Jamie Langley. This is the dummy half, which is Robbie Farah, one of the best young hookers, already being compared to Balmain legend Benny Elias. And Bradford was very quick in the tackle early on, as you would expect. John Skandalis, 29 years of age, good drive forward using the legs. Midway inside his own half, he plays the ball again to Farah. Farah then tips the ball on his inside to Chris Hyington. So far, Bradford's tacklers standing firm. Langley seeing plenty of it early on. It's Farah with the kick, angled towards the sideline, and Michael Withers will collect, and Bradford now with ball in hand for the first time. Phil Clark, big test of the Bulls.
It is. You know, I was excited every time we got to see West Tigers on the NRL coverage last year on Sky. To be here and watch them in the flesh is really a mouth-watering start to 2006. The speed and skill with which they play the game really do make them an attractive proposition, and to see them against the Bradford Bulls, well, what a start for this year.
Pretty good run there by Stuart Field, and he's going to be a key factor on this Bulls outfit.
International Forward of the Year in 2005 was Stuart Fielden. Good kick from Justin Harris. Ball bouncing on the solid surface and well picked up by McDonald over there on the far side.
Pretty high shot from Marcus Bai. Did well to duck underneath it. Interesting to see there that Bradford kicking early in the tackle count on the 4. That's a silly swinging arm.
Paul Fatuira was carrying the ball forward, and over the top came Ian Henderson.
Well, that's silly play by the hooker. Brian Noble, his coach, will be far from impressed by that. When you kick early in the tackle count, that means that you're eager to try to pin down your opposition. No point in getting through all the hard work and then just throw it away with a silly infringement.
West then with ball in hand again. They merged with Balmain in the year 2000. They won their first premiership last year. Balmain's last title, by the way, 1969. Western Suburbs, their last title in 1952. Heady days for the merged club then. Great tackle though by Henderson on Ryan O'Hara. Fantastic tackle. But they can use the ball neatly, can West Tigers. That was Farah's pass as Brian Noble watches on. A dab over the top, and this is a tester for Leslie Vinacolo. And big Leslie, 34 tries last year and tries in both of the previous World Club Challenge wins. 2002 on his debut against Newcastle, and Penrith here in 2004. Ian Millwood, if you look for sequences, 2002, 2004, 2006.
Well, they've been very dominant, haven't they, at the back end of Super League every year, Bradford Bulls, and no more so than Leslie Vinacolo. Outstanding powerhouse winger. And it's noticed that the Tigers have started kicking him early. They want to get the ball to him and get to him early, take a bit of juice. It's early season. Both teams have had minimal runs under their belt. Maybe conditions here with fatigue will come into play.
Second penalty of the match. It's one apiece now.
Well, that was poor play indeed. Got to get out of the way, Lisi, and should have. There's Tim Sheens.
Most experienced coach in NRL history. 496 first grade games. He's won 4 grand finals, 3 with Canberra. And he had a crack at the World Club crown just once before, 1989 in his Canberra days. He lost to Widnes at Old Trafford in that year. Good ball by Fielden, finds Langley.
Eddie, and that's something we get to see progressively as the game goes on. Stuart Fielden, the most difficult forward in the country to tackle, offloads, breaks more tackles than many players, comes up with tackle bus. You've got to get hands on him from the West Tigers. Penalty conceded again. This has just carried the Bulls downfield.
They'll feel pretty confident, Bradford, now. They've had ball in hand on 3 occasions, and they've made good progress with the big fellas pretty tight to the play the ball area.
And West looked as though they were trying to slow the play the ball down here, but this now is Michael Withers, wearing the number 1 jersey this year, vacated of course by Huddersfield Giants now, Robbie Paul, and Andy Lynch will drive the ball forward here for Bradford. They are 5 metres away from the West Tigers line, and that is Ben Harris. He shuttles it infield to Easton Harris. This now is Stuart Fielden, and Fielden one-handed gets it away to Ian Henderson again, and Henderson will attack the defence, but Farrow was there, and so too was Anthony LaFranchi. Paul down, 5 metres away still. It's Johnson to Easton Harris. Harris to big Carl Price. Shrugs away from one, Price. Almost through, but the cover was there in defence. He gets to his feet. Myers on the charge, big Leslie. Leslie Vainikolo is over the line, but is held up.
Certainly is.
And the tackle count will continue from 10 metres back.
Great build-up though by the Bulls. Sensational stuff. Using the big winger, bringing him back on the angle. They're in all sorts of trouble of the West Tigers in their defence. Very slow to get out of the blocks.
Well, that was the last tackle now, says the referee, Steve Ganson. No, now he's changed his mind again. It was the 4th tackle. He's getting advice, I think, from the 4th official.
Well, it is the start of the season. You've got to give the officials a little bit of leeway.
This now is Henderson who finds Easton Harris. This is Langley, and Langley, good run from Langley, but that is... Well, I was going to say that is the last, but it isn't, because this is Michael Withers, and Withers, good ball, and Marcus Bai! Has he scored on his debut for the Bradford Bulls? He has! Great ball wide, and Marcus Bai, the man who lost the grand final with the Leeds Rhinos last year, changed clubs and came to Bradford, and he is looking for a 3rd win in this competition with a 3rd different club, and he has got Bradford Bulls off to a great start.
Tremendous play by the 3 quarters. They got the link, and watch how the dummy runner comes through. Oh, they use the centre so well. Ben Harris comes back on the inside. Marcus Bai makes sure that he runs and keeps out wide. Look at that. Oh, he's in an awful position there, Shannon McDonald. And Marcus Bai, he starts his season with a new club with a wonderful try. That was a superb worked effort. That'll please Brian Noble and the Bradford fans here.
Easton Harris with the conversion attempt off the post. But Bradford lead by 4 points to 0.
Well, that was a tremendous effort. You just had that feeling with the way that the power of the Bulls interchanging and running back on the inside. It was superb.
We saw the build-up. The penalties took them downfield, and then really the amount of possession. No side in the UK are better than Bradford at scoring when they get close to the opponent's line. Again, there was some doubt over the tackle count, why that seemed to go on forever from a West Tigers point of view. But the Bulls took full advantage, and got a bit of sympathy for Shannon McDonald on the left wing. It's only his 2nd game in the first team here at West Tigers. I suppose it's a pretty tough learning curve.
It certainly is.
Steve O'Phil mentioned the tackle count. The referee, I think, was going to put a scrum down at one stage. Then he ordered play the ball to the West Tigers. Then he changed his mind. But I was under the impression that Vainikolo was held up on tackle number 4. So I'm not so sure that that wasn't a try on the 7th tackle.
Well,
anyway,
we'll certainly look at the replay. Either way, it was total confusion.
Well, no confusion for Bradford. They're over the line.
They certainly are. It's on the scoreboard, and that's all that counts. The one thing that Tim Sheens has got to get out to these players is the fact that they've got to shift across. You saw there when that try was scored, Ben Harris came in as a dummy runner, and it sucked in the inexperienced McDonald. They've got to fix that up quickly.
Harris's little dab over the top, but straight into the arms of Robbie Farah. And Brad Myers misses the tackle, but the next 2 don't on Brett Hodgson. He scored 28 points in that trial match that the West Tigers had on the way into this match. They won 64-4 last week, and as we've said, conditions totally different from what they're experiencing here tonight. But Ian, they have banned the use of the word cold and talk about the weather in their build-up to this.
Well, they have, but this is a typical Canberra night in winter, and they're used to these conditions, and actually it's nowhere near as cold as people envisaged early.
Oh, poor kick by Nicolo. And Michael Withers will launch another Bradford Bulls attack.
Well, it surprised me that Tim Sheens has opted for his players to kick right the way down the throat of Leslie Vinocola. They've done that on 2 occasions.
He's such a difficult man to put down, isn't he?
Well, he's a 7 forward, isn't he? Well, that's what he is.
I think what he's trying to do there, Steve, he wants him to turn and run and get the ball, and they've got numbers around and jump on top of him, and then they don't have to meet him for that next 6 tackles. At the moment, if he gets a wind-up, he's a real handful.
Jamie Langley, sub in the 2004 win here against Penrith. Now, big Andy Lynch. Oh, great ball. It's Ian Henderson who finds Carl Price. And Price, oh, good pass as well.
Again,
and Johnson is hauled down.
Again, we see the Tigers. They're just hanging back. Look at that. They can't get themselves organised.
Great kick from Justin Harris. Handy bounce. They're trying to get out of jail.
Tremendous stuff.
They do, the Tigers, brilliantly. And that was Hodgson who came up with the possession, but there was players going down like skittles in the in-goal area then. But Bradford turning the screw here.
Well, the pace of this game is getting to the Australians. You can see that. They're having a lot of trouble getting their one line of defence sorted out.
Bradford won here 28 points to 10 2 weeks ago against the Huddersfield Giants in a pre-season friendly. They beat Hull Kingston Rovers a week ago 28-12. That was Robbie Paul's farewell and testimonial. In January they beat Dewsbury, but they lost at Warrington. 4 games played in the build-up here, but different teams on duty each time, so we can't really read too much into those results.
Again, it's a poor kick. That's 3 on the trot. Timmy Sheens will be pulling their hair out. They really have not got to the pace of this game, and you can see there that the Bulls quite easily getting over the advantage line, but having the ability to turn in the tackle, and there's support.
Here's Marcus Bai, try scorer on his official debut for the Bradford Bulls.
Hold, go.
And now it's Ian Henderson. Ian Henderson, of course, under threat because Terry Newton is still suspended and will be back later on in the season after the suspension is finished. And Lynch gets the ball out the back door to Brad Myers.
He's having a big game, isn't he, Lynch? Certainly in control of that. We saw a couple of seasons ago at Castleford his ability to look and offload, but he's really up for it tonight.
Bradford looking to offload at every opportunity, aren't they? Trying to run the West Tigers off their feet, really testing the Australian champions here with the jet lag. It's a good kick from Harris, well claimed by Hodgson. Owen Fielden missed him. Hodgson trying to get out of the in-goal area and does so again.
Tremendous stuff. Boy, talk about taking the pressure. Upper body strength. He doesn't look much. We'll have a little close look at him. He looks very thin indeed. Great effort. 5
goals in the grand final for Brett Hodgson last year. Terrific full-back. And here now is Daniel Fitzhenry. Penalty.
You're offside, Jamie. Got to come back to me.
Steve, you've mentioned about the lack of poor kicking direction for the West Tigers, and also they do look a little bit fatigued. I think that's a huge reflection on the lack of possession they've had. Because of lack of possession, they haven't been able to come up with an attacking kick, and also they're coming off their line. The key to this game and early in the year is possession. At the moment, with their offloads, Bradford are winning that battle. For the Tigers to get back in it, they need the ball.
Chris Warren amongst Chris McKenna, Terry Newton and Paul Deacon on the sideline there. And it's good to see Paul Deacon back and almost fit. And as Brian Noble said, just wasn't prepared to take the risk with him. Hamstring problem, though, not the facial injury that, of course, ended his season and the Tri-Nations campaign for Paul Deacon in the Great Britain jersey.
It's a wise move as well by Brian Noble. He knows it all.
Again.
Now this is an opportunity to get it stuck right into the corner. They haven't had a sniff of this Bradford line, and they've got to really just build their confidence. He's up for a big one, isn't he? Stuart Fielden. And Brian Noble keeps pretty calm, as does Tim Sheens.
Eddie, I think Bradford will rehearse here for Farah and Prince running crossfield, looking for runners inside and out. They scored from it in the grand final in Australia. They scored time and time throughout the season on it, and that's the play that they'll go to in this set.
This is Ryan O'Hara, though, at the moment for the West Tigers.
Well, that's the reason why Tim Sheens has thrown this big fella out there. A little bit bigger than Bryce Gibbs.
It's Farah again. He flicks the ball wide, and this is Fitzhenry, and Fitzhenry is over. And, well, Phil Clark called it, didn't he? But Bradford will to the task on that occasion. And Daniel Fitzhenry, he moved to the wing last year, but he's operating at standoff half this year and this evening. His first appearance at number 6 actually since May 2004. But Daniel Fitzhenry has just levelled the scores here in the World Club Challenge. It's Bradford 4, West 4, and the Tigers via Brett Hodgson boot with the kick to come.
And it's all quality as well. Beautiful sidestep. 2 dummies back, one came through, just plugged them, went too high, but the step was superb. He likes to set moves as Tim Sheens, don't worry about that. You can see the 2 dummy runners, one came in, nice dummy, not the best by Ben Harris, but Fitzhenry won't mind. The first opportunity, they were very slow in the first and second marker position was the Bulls, and they can't afford to be going high on a fellow with a talent like Fitzhenry. That was a good effort.
Daniel Fitzhenry, Phil Clark has been watching the tapes. Bradford maybe haven't been watching the tapes.
No, I think Bradford have. I think they've rehearsed it. They just didn't get it right on that occasion. Justin Harris, Ben Harris, that combination didn't work, and really quite worryingly from a Bulls point of view, they made that look very easy. You know, you say they've been here less than a week, some of the Australian side. I suppose the bodies are telling them it's about 7:15 in the morning. Well, they had an opening first 12 tough minutes. Anyway, they might feel a bit better now. They've got to try.
Yes, they were blowing a bit heavy after 10 minutes or so, but Hodgson here with the conversion, and he misses. So that's a miss apiece for the kickers, but a try apiece. Bradford 4, West Tigers 4.
You see the second dummy runner coming through, and you see Ben Harris, he just hesitates a bit, and then when he realizes he's got to get across, he goes high. Not good.
Well, yet again, it was the 2 penalties that Steve Ganson awarded that took them downfield, and then really from those penalties we saw how easy it was for West Tigers to score. Again, that play, whether it be the hooker or whether it be the half in Scott Prince, they run across field and occasionally look to try and get Hodgson on the outside of opponents.
4 apiece then, 15.5 minutes of the first half gone here. And, well, Bradford, on a ground that they enjoy playing at because they've won all 7 Super League visits to this ground since 1998. They've also won 4 Challenge Cup semi-finals and 2 World Club titles here. They really do love this place. And the kick downfield will bounce harmlessly into the arms of Michael Withers. Withers, of course, man of the match in the win against Penrith here 2 years ago. He had 3 years at the old Balmain club, 1995 and 1998. And he's in his 8th season with the Bradford Bulls. There's another penalty for Bradford. Justin Harris trying to get to his feet.
You've got to move out. He's through on it.
Well, just messing around, Skandalis, no doubt about it. Trying to get on with it, but again, it's surprising me, these tactics. Ian Millwood, we've seen the West Tigers kick twice on the 4th tackle. We saw them kick on the 3rd. They're all right if they're good kicks, but they're not. It's very poor in that department.
Well, they're trying to win the field battle and get there down there early. It's just that the execution of the kick is not coming up with the result they're looking for.
Second, all day West. Hold.
Bradford.
Hold.
In possession. Ian Henderson will scamper down from dummy half. It's a good little run as well, halted by the tackle from Farah, his opposite number. And here now is Paul Johnson. He finds Justin Harris, and Harris feeds it wide to Brad Myers, and Myers looked for support, and Harpy was coming on the diagonal, couldn't get the ball away to him. There is Harpy at dummy half. It's now with Harris. Harris then infield on a great tackle by Ben Galea on Paul Johnson. Henderson. Justin Harris delayed the pass, and the ball comes free on the last, and Michael Withers, nothing that he could do with that. It wasn't the best ball from Justin Harris up round his ear holes.
Well, he delayed it very late indeed, which allowed the 2 defenders to come well and truly right into his ribs.
Surrender.
They'll be happy now. Well, the Tigers, they're a little bit dodgy in their defence, sorted themselves out. It looked at one point, and I was getting a little bit worried that, you know, they were looking weary, they're looking tired, the way that Bradford were controlling the game, that they may just perhaps capitulate, but they haven't. Slowly but surely, 1 opportunity. That's all you need, and they've scored.
The West Tigers finished 4th in the table after the weekly rounds in the NRL last year. Bradford, of course, finished 3rd. They became the first team to win Super League from outside the top 2. And that's a real schmozzle. The referee will play the first knock-on, and it will be head and feet at the scrum to the Bradford Bulls.
Well, he took his eyes off the football. You could see that Shontaine Harpy was coming right into his face in college. Well, we've seen over the last 5 or 6 minutes the ability of the Australian side to keep this ball alive, give it plenty of air. I'm not surprised with the ability of Scott Prince and Daniel Fitzhenry. They do a good link. Oh, good play.
He's a big, strong lad, isn't he, Carl Price? He really did electrify the Super League early on last year, Carl Price. Faded a little as the season progressed, but he still finished with 17 tries. He had a remarkable year, really. And great offload again from Fielden, and Bradford looking to spread it wide. This is Ben Harris.
Third movement.
He plays it to Ian Henderson. Henderson, good run, stumbling albeit.
Tremendous work by Henderson, the hooker. He's looking and poaching those yards forward.
Yeston Harris attacking the line, finds Carl Price. Price slides the kick through, looking for Harvey. Oh, the ball is flicked back. Myers will touch down. Here's the first decision of 2006 for the video referee. It looked as though the ball was flicked back, and Brad Myers was able to pounce.
Now then, is it a knock-on? That's what the video referee has to look at. If he doesn't take full control of this, then it has to be classified as a knock-on. Beautiful kick, though, by Carl Price. Now then, was that deliberately knocked out?
Jamal Alisi knocks it back, doesn't he, Steve-O, with his left hand?
It certainly looks as though it is knocked from his grasp. Harpy thought that it was going to be an easy 4-pointer. Alisi deliberately knocks the ball. This should be try time, ladies and gentlemen. The third of the season, and I think you'd have to say, oh, now then. No, I'm going to go for Alisi has knocked the ball backwards, and this will be TRY unless I am mistaken. Just wants to make sure. Harpy gets to it there. Now he's got to decide as the video referee. Remember this rule that we brought in at the start of last season, that if you are involved in the tackle, then it's not classified as play on or a knock on. Well, he's going that way, so it can't be a knock on, so it can only be a TR1.
Robert Connolly is tonight's video referee. First one of the new season, and a difficult one for Mr. Connolly to decide upon. What is his decision? No try. The try is not given, and Bradford are denied.
Well, I'm trying to find out what is the ruling on that then.
Okay.
Because to me, the last person to touch that football was the winger, Lalisi.
But was the first touch a knock forward? Had he knocked on prior to Lalisi? Was he in control of the ball?
Do you know, they did remarkably well to defend that play, because it's tough that they had a team charging at them offensively. Really nice soft kick in behind the line to turn, scramble back, prevent a try. It's a big play right there at that point in the game.
Stays at 4-4 then. We're midway through the first half.
Surrender, fall!
The World Club Challenge of 2006, and Scott Prince for the West Tigers puts the ball into the arms of Chris Hyington. Was one of the best replacement forwards in the NRL last year, Hyington. A dab over the top again. Oh, it's difficult for Leslie Varnicolo, but he copes with it. And then he flicks the ball infield to Michael Withers. It's a big night for Withers, as I say, formerly with the Balmain club. Marcus Bai, who will come looking for work, won't just stand out on the wing, neither will Leslie Varnicolo throughout the course of this year. They'll both come looking.
Third, hold.
It's tight as a drum here in Huddersfield, and Bradford, courtesy of the boot of Yeston Harris, trying to get a bit of field position, but straight into the arms of Brett Hodgson.
Ian, are you really backing yourself over the course of 80 minutes if you kick on the third tackle?
Well, what you're saying is your energy levels are pretty high at the moment, and you feel with the ground. Let's remember, there's a little bit of dew and wetness on the ground here, but you can come up with errors. Look, both teams, when they got in each other's half, look like coming up the try. In fact, the Tigers have defended better than Bradford. They've had to defend more off their line than Bradford. They've only had to defend there once and conceded one. Yeah, I think Bradford at the moment got the energy levels up. They've got to keep at it.
They're on halfway, West Tigers. This is Farah. And Farah gets the ball away to second rower Chris Hyington again.
That's a key for the West Tigers, is the ability to run from that dummy half, and that's a neat little kick through as well.
It is, but Marcus Bai deals with it. And then he only knows one way forward. Ben Galia was standing in front of him.
Back and hold. Number 13.
And this is Ben Harris again, formerly with the Canterbury Bulldogs, won an NRL Grand Final a couple of years ago, and followed it up with the Super League Grand Final win last year with the Bradford Bulls, the first man to do that in consecutive seasons. Fielden. He'll be looking for a big game, Ian, won't he, Stuart Fielden, because his reputation down under is growing every year.
And where he's gained that reputation, Eddie, is at the international level. So is Shontaine Harpy with his last tri-series.
Great ball from Harpy to Justin Harris. He finds Brad Myers, and here is Carl Price again. Tackle is not completed. Play on. It's with Michael Withers again.
Tremendous stuff from the Bulls. Boy, they're confident. Spinning in the tackle yet again.
Langley will dab the ball down the line. Leslie Vinokolos after this. The ball beat everybody. Hodgson took the gamble, and Big Leslie was hunting.
Well, this is a new option here from Langley, not noted for his open kicking in the field of play. New hairstyle by the big fella, the Vinacolo.
First, tell him if you.
Well, we're here at the World Club Challenge, of course. We start Super League next weekend, and Castleford against Hull. We'll see the new boys. That's Friday at 7:30, live on Sky Sports 1. We'll be back down at the Jungle, and then we're all off to the south of France on Saturday for a 5:45 start. The Catalan Dragons against the Wigan Warriors, Sky Sports 1. Ian Millwood is slightly concerned about that opener, I think.
It is not a holiday, I can tell you that now. It's going to be rough and tough, their first game. It's very exciting for rugby league, especially in Super League with the French.
Indeed so. And that's well done by Ian Henderson. Yes, it's no holiday for us either. It's a long trip down there, and we're looking forward to it though. And there is the Catalan Dragons, having a glimpse of what Super League at this level is all about.
Well, they'll soon pick it up if it keeps on, because this is getting very tasty out there. There's a couple of high shots on Henderson. One missed, one certainly made its mark. This is now getting into one heck of a battle.
This is Langley for Bradford, and they're coming down this left channel, which was so productive for them in 2005.
Steve Ganson, the referee's got to keep a very close eye on this.
It's Justin Harris now. And Harris fires the pass to Stuart Field, and he goes round one. He steps out of the challenge of two. Wonderful try! Stuart Field into the Bradford Bulls. He just stepped out of the challenges there. Forward play at its very best. A big Stuart Fielden, the international forward of the year 2005. He has been named in the World 13 each of the last 4 years, and Stuart Fielden, he gets Bradford back in the lead with a memorable try in the 2006 World Club Challenge.
They don't come much better than this. They try to keep the ball alive instead of kicking. The West Tigers went for the power play. Henderson did ever so well, got them in a position. He's on fire, is Stuart Fielden. His defence has been solid, wonderful hits, and look at this. Get out of the way. 1, 2, 3. Come and get me. I've got the 4-pointer. Boy, that was a crucial try. Watch the effort. Just sit back and marvel at this. 1 out of the way, 2 out of the way, 3, 4, and I'll take the 4. TRY. Boy, he's on fire, is the lad.
26 years of age. Stuart Fielden, 9 tries last year. That was a sweet one, and Harris here to add the extras. And he does. Justin Harris gives Bradford a 10-4 advantage over the Australian champions.
Well, you know, People very often talk about Bradford and their power, but they also sometimes forget the skill, the ball movements across the field, and then obviously the power that came on the end of that. But they successfully moved their opponents around and went forward in the process. Do you know they deserved that try because of the defensive work they put in on the set previous? They really did up the ante in intensity and defence. It kept the West Tigers camped in their own half, and that resulted in a try eventually for them.
So the Bradford Bulls ahead, and 26 minutes on the clock.
I made the point,
fielding again.
I made the point, Eddie, before the kickoff. You know, how long would it be where Tim Sheen sends out the message? You know, get a little bit excited, keep the ball alive. The first time that the Australian outfit decides to run on the power play, come up with the error, and they've conceded the try.
Big Joe Banganar has joined the fun, and he offloads as well to Leslie Vinacolo. Another one-handed offload. Big hit though by Galea, and the ball just shot out of the grasp of Shontaine Harpy.
Well, they know the power, don't they? Okay. It was a good hit from Ben Galea.
Okay.
These Australians must be looking at them saying, hang on, this guy with a number 5 on his back, Leslie Vinacolo, isn't he supposed to be on the wing? He is looking for more and more work. It's a wonderful ploy, you know, by Brian Noble. He's done it for a couple of seasons. And when you get a winger that strong, but a winger that's eager to look for work, sensational.
Bronson Harrison was in the Kiwi squad for the Tri-Nations. In fact, there was a little bit of a question mark about Wayne Bennett's selection for the Tri-Series from Australia, because there was only Scott Prince in the Australian lineup, in the Australian squad, from the champion team. But at least today, these West Tigers players, they have got their deserved trip to England. Brett Hodgson, one of them, and he finds Scott Prince, and Prince with the ball infield to Hyington. This is Farah. It bounced off a body, and Johnson will pick it up.
Eddie, they love that banana kick, or I should have said a kick in the opposite direction to which the player's running. That time it was Farah, but Prince will do it. They're looking for Hodgson back in behind underneath the goalposts.
It was off the knees of Paul Johnson. He did well to drop on it.
That's the one thing that the Tigers will do. I can assure you of that. Anywhere near the line, they'll come up with a set move, set plan, be it a kick or the utilisation of the dummy runner. We've already seen that. We hated the Fitzhenry try.
And here is Stanley Jean. Stanley Jean, who played in the pre-season friendly at Warrington. This really will be his official Bradford Bulls debut. And, oh, Fielden now with the kick. And Stanley hacks it forward, but the West Tigers have got it back.
Eddie, in a regular season, in the NRL or over here in Super League, if you get 20 offloads in a game, you've done it, your average, and that's very well done. At the moment, the Bradford Bulls are at 16 offloads. We're not even halfway through the game. That typifies the spirit they're playing in regard to their flamboyancy, and their willing to unload the ball is very high.
Surrender.
Robbie Farah, the dummy half. It goes into the arms of Fitzhenry, and he shuffles it on again. That is Dean Collis.
Good defensive work as well by Bradford. You notice that they've realised that the West Tigers, they're running across, bringing someone back in on an angle. And if you move up quickly, the gap will appear, but they're just holding back at Bradford.
This will hang. This is a tester for Leslie Vinacolo. Oh, but I was going to say he comes up trumps. He doesn't really. It's a knock-on.
Just couldn't control it. They're pretty upset at the Bradford players, but the official Steve Ganson has got it pretty spot on. Leslie Vinacolo went up for it and couldn't take control. So therefore, maybe they have a point. Did it go backwards?
I think the nerves here from Bradford and the reaction disappointment is because they sense and they're aware just how dangerous the West Tigers are from scrum players. The speed of the backs, the skill, the passing accuracy makes them extremely dangerous in this position. They dream about a chance like this.
The ball certainly went backwards off the shoulder of Vinacolo, but I think the referee got it right. It went forward in the first instance. And here come the West Tigers. That's Collis, Fitzhenry and Galea, and Bradford have to have all hands to the pumps here in defence. This is Farah, and Farah flicks the ball back. They close them down again. It was O'Hara with the run. Back it comes to Fitzhenry again. This now is Scott Prince, and here now is Bryce Gibbs.
Again, you see the Bradford defence not being sucked in. hanging back to see where the man is going to be coming into the gap.
It's Henry wide, and on the bounce it finds its way to Fatuira. Fatuira goes to ground, releases. Can Bradford cope with this? Can they deal with the threat with Hodgson? And Hodgson tries to dab the ball through. And they have dealt with the threat. It bounced off Stanley Jean, was dropped on gratefully by Joe Banganar.
Again, we're not seeing the best from the kicking department from the Australian visitors.
Marcus Bai. Ryan O'Hara with the tackle.
The 10-4, Bradford will be quite happy just to cart this down the field of play, make sure they try to get into a good position so they can kick on the last tackle.
And I think also in Millwood, Brian Noble will be happy with the threat that was posed from that scrum by West Tigers on their defence, but Bradford coped with it admirably.
Well, you grow in confidence through your defence, and anywhere near the line you get that confidence. And here once again, they're going to get the ball in field position here, and they're going to have to defend again this set of 6.
Big problems for the big second rower, Brad Myers. He's receiving treatment in the backfield.
Seems okay though, has now joined the defensive line as Wests are on the halfway line.
Third.
Farah 10 metres inside the Bradford half. The pass finds Liam Fulton, ball goes to ground. Play on, says the referee.
Well, that certainly went backwards, but the crowd are just getting, oh, lovely play. Lovely, lovely play, but full credit to this Bradford Bull defence. They're soaking it up.
Here's Collis again. That's tackle number 5. Here is Farah. And Prince will try and dab the ball through again. That surely is going to be too deep. The call came from Michael Withers. Ball runs harmlessly in over the dead ball line.
Well, the idea was good. Tim Sheens would have been wanting a better kick. A little bit too strong, but I'm not so sure that his colleagues out on the left-hand side realised that it was going to be on. Oh, that was delayed a little bit. Looked to touch forward. Yeah.
Referee agrees.
Forward pass off the ruck. Forward
well,
pass.
if you delay the pass with the eagerness of some of these players. Yep, I think he's got it right as a touch. Obviously an attendant there. You may notice there's a new style being brought in the shirt. It's sort of like a rounded collar. Not that I'm a fashion expert, but I actually wore one today for the first time to see what it was like, and it's very uncomfortable.
Well, it would be very tight as well, I would think.
Touché.
West Tigers looking to get level pegging. This is Liam Fulton, and now it's with Brett Hodgson and LaFranchi. Nowhere for him to go though. Myers and Shontaine Harpy in attendance. Prince, Fitzhenry and Fatuira down the line. Great kick, well claimed though by Ben Harris. They're trying to shuttle him over the try line. That's a penalty. Well,
no, it isn't.
All over the top of him.
You haven't got the whistle, Eddie.
Bronson Harrison climbed all over the top of him then as he tried to play the ball.
I keep saying you haven't got the whistle. Oh, that's risky.
Oh,
that was high.
That was a swinger from Scott Prince. Here's Langley.
Good effort though by Bradford. They're sharing the work. As I mentioned earlier, you know, Vinocola, Marcus Bai coming and looking for a little bit of extra work, a little bit of pressure off the forwards. They'll be happy to go in 10-4 up at half-time.
Myers is a bit groggy. This is Vanganar. There's still 4 and a bit minutes though to go to the half-time siren. And Harris will kick downfield, but again into the arms easily of Hodgson, and the counter-attack will begin.
Look who's leading the way. Stewart, Fielden. What an effort is that putting so far tonight.
Let's get some injury news from the Bulls camp. Bill.
As Steve-O's already punted out, Brad Myers is in the wars, but he's still out there, and that's despite frantic waving from the sidelines from the Bulls to get him off the pitch. Brett Ferris is waiting to come on. Steve McNamara has been out there to try and persuade Myers to come off, but he's just told him to give us 5 minutes, just see if I can shake it off, whatever it is that it just looks a bit groggy, Brad Myers.
Yes, he does. He's blowing hard. He's punched, as you see, but very willing and still out there as Jean gets the ball away to Johnson. Johnson then to Ben Harris, who did well to juggle that and keep possession.
Well, I'm not surprised that there's a few out there feeling a little bit under the weather. There's been some big hits out there. Boof.
They know the danger that this fella poses, Stuart Fielden. We didn't like that from Fatuira.
Gone looking for him. Looks like they've made up.
Keep coming.
Stanley Jean. Little dink over the top from Jean. It's a good kick. And Marcus Bai forces the goal line dropout with the chase.
Great combination.
Papua New Guinea combination here.
Certainly was. Stanley Jean, who's got all the experience in the world, taking the option on the short blind side. Neat little chip through. Well, he knew exactly what he was going to do.
Steve-O, Marcus Bai admits to 33. Stanley Jean's age is posted at 31.
Yeah, we've not been in the guts yet, have we?
Well, that makes me about 45, if that's the case. But look, I know we keep going on about the fact that no one knows his real age. Either way, he gives 100%. Oh, look at this!
Fielden, they're all on their feet around the Gulf Farmers. Fielden went on that charge. That's Stanley Jean. Here is Justin Harris.
Second.
And Stanley Jean finds Langley. And Langley out the back door, bounces into the arms of Vanganar. Not the best pass, but it went backwards off Harpy, but they've lost the momentum a bit. And Harpy trying to get away from the number 14, Liam Fulton.
Keep coming.
They'll come again, Bradford. With Withers. Good tackle, though, by Gallia. And Stanley Jean. Well, Fulton must be offside.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Not standing square at the play of the ball.
Now, I'd go for the quick tap. The heads are down slightly. West Tigers.
Justin Harris has said he'll take the 2, thanks.
Might have been going for it. Great work by Stanley Jean. He knew he had no chance to get back the required 10 and took full advantage of it. Well, this should be an easy kick. 2 points at 12-4. Gives you that vital extra 2 points. Even West to score 3 times, of course.
I think West would be pretty happy with that, won't they? A minute to half-time, 6 tackles on offer in a way. Justin Harris takes the 2 points and converts it successfully. Well, that's not too bad.
I'll tell you why they'd be happy too, Phil, because from 10 yards out, how do you control Fielden? They're hard to try Fielding 20 yards out. I've got to say here at the moment, he has really stamped himself. I know he's won International for the year, but, you know, he continually does it at the international level in big games. And, you know, he is the best front row in the world at the moment by a mile.
I'd have to agree with you there. And not only that, you often find when a man is doing so much work, but making that ground through, there are sometimes reluctant. Over the years, you're either a forward that does all the hard work going forward and then perhaps just relaxes when it comes to defence. This guy does both.
Tackle and release.
Vanganar will drive the ball forward with 9 seconds of the first half remaining. There's Stanley Jean again. And there's the half-time siren. Right on cue. And a decent half for the Bradford Bulls. Stanley Jean involved since he's come on off the bench. It was a Marcus Bai try, though, for Brian Noble after just 6 minutes that got Bradford underway. Fitzhenry hit back on the quarter hour. It was 4-all. And then the moment of the match, really, from Stuart Fielden. A wonderful try from him. Harris added the goal, and he's hit a penalty right on the stroke of half-time. It is 12-4 to the Super League champions at the break.
It's been a fine first half.
It has, and Bradford Bulls ahead by 12 points to 4 as they emerge from the dressing room at half-time. Those are the statistics, but perhaps, Steve-O, the most telling statistic, and I know that despite the fact that you haven't been with us in the studio, we've been up here on the gantry, and you've been checking what we were talking about for the first, for the Bradford try, the Stuart Fielden try, the first try, the Marcus Bai try, beg your pardon.
That's right.
It might have been on a 7th tackle.
Not might, it was. The official Steve Ganson has made a real mess. We said it was early in the season. Take nothing away from the fact that Bradford have played some outstanding rugby league football. Wests have, when they've been allowed a little bit of space. It's not over yet, and it would be very, very harsh to perhaps think they would take away the credit for a good 40 minutes from Bradford, but it is amazing that it will be brought up. It was a big error, and it allowed Bradford to score the first try. As in big games like this, so important. We haven't heard the last of this.
12-4 Bradford. Bradford in possession. Start of the second 40 minutes. Ian, do you think that Brian Noble will have just said, look, same again, second half?
Oh, he'd been overexcited about their go forward, and especially the form of his front rowers and his back rowers so early in the season, and also their confidence offload when they're in contact. Now, that's what he wants. He doesn't want to get too wide. He wants to go forward. That's their strength.
Stanley Jean, though, is tackled on the last by Anthony Lafranchi, and the kick from Harris, he was under pressure. It goes behind Brett Hodgson this time, but on the bounce, Hodgson will try and work the ball forward. But a good chase.
Surrender!
A good chase by Bradford, led by Langley.
Tim Sheens has to make the changes now. He's got to allow them a little bit more freedom. They've struggled to make that break, make many openings in and around the play the ball area. We know the quality of Robbie Farah. The hooker is very strong, and we can see there they're trying to probe that way, but I think Bradford are just far too strong in that first and second marker.
Prince's chip over the top, dealt with competently enough by Leslie Vinacolo. Right, we've talked about Paul Deacon a few times tonight. He's on the sideline here, he's talking to Bill.
And thankfully he looks a lot prettier than he did the last time we saw him in that Tri-Nations match. And a shame to be missing this one, Paul.
Yeah, very disappointing, especially with the lads playing so well and, you know, looking quite dominant in the game.
They must be very happy with the way it's gone so far.
Yeah, very. I think we're at 80% completion that first half, and you know, I think that's why we're in front on the scoreboard.
More importantly, the defence has been outstanding, hasn't it? Because you have been examined in that department.
Yeah, we have. And we knew we would be. We've dealt with quicker players really well, and you know, our marker player that we've worked on all week has you know, paid dividends for us.
Just finally, can we expect to see you in action for the start of the new Super League season?
I'm definitely hoping so, yeah.
So that'll be Wakefield next weekend?
Fingers crossed, yeah.
Fingers crossed for you, Paul. Well, the other news from the Bulls camp is that Brad Myers obviously shaken off the problem he had. He's still out there. Let's get the West news from Chris.
Well, not planning stations in the West Tigers camp. Benny Elias, actually, I spoke to him at half-time. He's now a director with the West Tigers club, and he actually appointed Tim Sheens 3 years ago. He did say to me, look, West Tigers last year won the premiership with a very fast, dry weather football team, and he agreed that these conditions certainly are favouring the Bradford Bulls, who are giving quite a bit of size, or I should say the West Tigers are giving some size away to them. No injuries to speak of, and inside the camp, the coaching staff asking them to pick up or reduce their number of errors and improve the ball control.
Well, there's an error. Ben Galea, the ferocity of the tackle really dislodged the ball, and actually I'm not so sure it was. It was the trailing arm, maybe. And it was the trailing arm of Ben Harris that dislodged it originally.
Certainly was. It should have been play on, but not seen by the official. And again, it's baffling me. Why on earth Tim Sheens is making his side play exactly the way that they did in the first half, and they're making no progress. It's completely the opposite with Bradford. Every time they play the ball, they've got the power in the forwards to get over their advantage line.
This is Stanley Jean. Flicks the ball back to Jamie Langley.
Well, this time last year, Bradford had a bit of a problem. They didn't seem to have a hooker in the club. I recognise one or anybody who really wanted to play in that position. He's turned that around, hasn't he, Brian Noble, and addressed it. He now has three. Stanley Jean's doing a pretty good job out there. He has Ian Henderson and, of course, Terry Newton when he comes back from suspension. So one thing he won't certainly be short of this year is a player to control that ruck area, which is central to success in rugby league.
What do you think he will do, Phil, as we watch this high kick from Harris? Just a moment, let's see how this develops, because it's bounced and it's flicked, and well, they sorted out in the end, West Tigers. What do you think he will do with Ian Henderson, for instance, when Newton is back and available?
I think he'll pick the best one of the three available for every game, and he'll say that to the three of them. You've got to show me when you play, you're better, you're more enthusiastic at training, and you perform better in the game.
Nice luxury to have as Lolesi takes the tackle. Whoop, the ball somehow found its way into the arms of McDonnell. Dribbled its way along the ground before it got there. And he now is Fitzhenry. That's the last, and West Tigers not outside their own half yet. They might be here, courtesy of the boot of Prince. No, they're running it. Whoops. And they make the mistake, they make the error. It was Liam Fulton who put the ball down.
They're not able to get any speed, are they, in the ruck? They play the balls are slow, really. Bradford's technique in defence is dominating the Tigers, and really it's not enabled us to see them at their best, but full credit to Bradford and the work and the concentration effort they're putting into the defensive effort.
Well, you could see there quite clearly that the substitute, Liam Fulton, took his eyes off the ball. You can't afford to do that at this top level. Look at this. He still won't go down, will he?
In the end he had to, and he looked like he had a bit of a knock for his trouble there, Stuart Fielden.
Third. Hold it.
3 tackles gone for Bradford.
Hold it. Go.
Justin Harris plays the ball to Johnson. It's now with Carl Price, and Myers
There'll be a knock
lost
on.
it.
Yeah. Just delayed it a little bit. I was surprised he took a couple of heavy knocks in the first 40 minutes. So interesting to see how the Bradford side, Justin Harris, Carl Price, operating from different angles, but using Justin Harris as a second receiver in Millwood rather than his usual position of wanting to take the ball from the dummy half.
Well, I think Eston's got a great long pass on him, and his vision to pick a person and cut someone else, one of his great strengths, and I think they're utilising that after a good go forward.
Big hit by Ben Harris.
Dominant.
Great tackle on Brett Hodgson. Here's Fitzhenry again.
3. Hold, Stu.
7 minutes of the second half gone. The game just simmering. We're waiting for it really to explode in this second 40.
Well, a little bit more skill from the likes of the two halfbacks, Fitzhenry and Scott Prince.
Good kick from Prince that time, but the bounce didn't help him, it helped Withers. Good chase though, led by Jamal Lolesi, a closed season signing from the Canterbury Bulldogs. Lolesi.
Second.
And Marcus Bai, the close season signing from the Leeds Rhinos. Lost a grand final, Marcus Bai.
Oh, what an offload.
But a great offload, and another offload. And again, and here is Shontaine Harpy. And there's danger every time Harpy gets going down that left channel.
That was superb play by the Bulls.
And it began with Marcus Bai, as I say, the man who lost the grand final, who's now playing in the World Club Championship. Ben Harris, the crossfield kick from his namesake Yistin.
And again, the confidence on the third tackle. Get boot to ball.
It's Andy Lynch, who's had a good game as well, although he has been overshadowed a little by his prop forward colleague Stuart Fielden. And here he is! Held up. And that will be the turnover. But Fielden was hunting another then.
Sheer power of the man. The delayed pass.
Forward.
Super stuff.
Brett Hodgson there, just very cleverly knew that there was no way he was going to force Fielden back over the line or prevent him from getting into the in-goal area. So his primary focus was to stay underneath the ball, prevent Fielden from grounding the ball. Great effort there from the fullback.
We mentioned Stuart Fielden and his growing reputation in Australia. Of course, Brian Noble, he has flattered, he says, to be linked with the Newcastle Knights job in 2007, but he's not going, so he tells me. But 5 grand final appearances for Brian Noble, 3 victories, 2 Challenge Cup finals, and 2 World Club crowns since 2001. The CV looks pretty good for Brian Noble, and he has said on more than one occasion ultimately he would like to test his arm in the NRL.
Well, he'll go down there eventually, don't worry. He needs a little bit of sun on the back.
Here is Michael Withers.
Interesting to note there that from that last kick by the West Tigers, their chase was very poor. Quite a few of them were just hanging back. I think that the pace of this game perhaps just starting to tell now on the Australians.
It's Langley for Bradford. Jamie Langley, substitute in each of the last two grand finals. He had his best season in 2005, and he's looking for a big year in 2006. Fielden again.
Out the side.
The wonderful thing about Fielden is he does more often than not 84 minutes. Lynch. Still Lynch. Good run from the former Castleford Tigers prop. Last tackle here for Bradford. Ian Henderson down the short side. Harpy, Vinacolo, back to Harpy, infield to Carl Price. Here is Harris, they're running it, wide to Ben Harris on the bounce, ups, nearly, oh, invention, oh, what a shame.
I think you might find that it's a little bit of a knock on there, just at the end, but
Okay, boys.
well, they're eager, aren't they?
On the
A lot of critics perhaps thinking that Bradford
on the cross.
and that man there allowing so many of his players to go elsewhere. I say it raised a few eyebrows with the inclusion, as you say, experienced players from other clubs, but the way that you see Stanley Jean is performed tonight, he's going to be a great asset for the club.
Eddie, Ian, I was going to say, what message do you send on to your players if you're the Bradford coach at the moment? You've been dominant for 10 minutes, but you haven't scored a try, and this side are just hanging in there.
First word you use, Phil, is patience. Keep doing what you are, keep working away. Don't forget, you're talking about fatigue. This is one of the biggest teams in World Rugby League, is the Bradford Bulls. They wear and tear away at you. So patience is virtue, and also field position. Stick with it, and you'll get rewards.
Well, they've got field position here, and here is Carl Price. They're 20 metres away from the West Tigers line. This is only the second tackle, and this is Langley again. That's tackle number 3. Henderson scampers in at dummy half. Lynch is on his inside.
There again you see how easy they're getting over that line, and it's the quick play of the balls. They're catching out the West Tigers defence. They'll score here, Bradford.
Henderson, and it's Fielden. It's a stroll in for Stuart Fielden. Second try for Stuart Fielden, and I think the big prop forward is on his way to a man of the match award here. He has been dominant throughout. He has been eye-catching throughout, and he's now got 2 tries.
And fully deserved. Well delayed pass as well. This was a mistake, trying to offload and Frankie, and then they got him in that position. You could just feel it. The power, the way that they'd gone through. Oh, that was great work. Delayed very well. He points and says, thank you very much indeed. Good asset, this hooker, Ian Henderson. There are plenty of players wanting that hooker position in this Bradford outfit. And Eddie, how on earth can they give the award to anyone else but this fella, Stuart Fielden? I will say now, at the start of this season, that Stuart Fielden is the world's best rugby league player at this point in time, all round.
Well, that's a pretty big call. Anyone wish to have a dissenting voice up here?
The difficult thing about rugby league, Steve-O, and this is again, you see the field position and the dominance. Ian Millwall touched on it. They just chipped away, they received possession in their opponent's half, and eventually they worked towards the post and scored again from that close range. Here he is taking the ball from the kickoff. He's got all the skills. Coming to the game, I wondered who was going to fill the role that James Peacock's played at Bradford last season. Whenever they've been in trouble near their own line, he'd put his hand up and cart the ball forward. He'd come up with some massive defensive plays, and it looks as though Stuart Fielden tonight has stepped up now and filled that dominant leader role that Bradford needed.
But the best player in the world, Ian, bar none. That's the call from our colleague.
Well, if I use an American gridiron theory, you need forwards to win the ruck area if you go forward, for the quarterback to star. And I've got to say, in the ruck area and the go forward, he is the best in the world. But I think there's some great quarterbacks out there in rugby league.
Well, they are certainly in a dominant position now, 18-4, Bradford.
Well, I'll put it this way, Ian. The Australian clubs down under, they only want one man from our competition.
Well, I'll go a step further. I think every club in rugby league would open their purse strings for this guy. He is the best. He gives you go forward. But you touched on it, Steve. He can play for 80 minutes. He can do everything you want in a modern-day rugby league player. He's got agility, speed, toughness, go forward, and he's a leader.
And before we really do upset the Bradford club, the Bradford coach and the Bradford fans, Stuart Fielden has got 2 years of a contract left to run. So
there's a bit of silence there now, isn't there?
Yeah, Stuart Fielden's going nowhere.
Excuse me, I didn't say that. I posed the question. There is only one player that is running around in our competition here in this country that the Australians would dip into the pocket and pay big, big cash.
Yeah, but Steve, you know the difficult thing about being the best player in the world, you've got to do it every week in, week out. That's the hard thing about this sport. West Tigers, they're not out of this here yet with a penalty. Got us to get back upfield. Second penalty, we've seen what that can do to a side. 2 penalties in quick succession. Can they convert this one into points?
Well, we need a little bit of individual play by Scott Prince. He's a talented player. We saw that when he came on the tour in the Tri-Nations for Australia.
It's a big ask again here of the Bradford defence. And they were almost over the line there in the shape of Ryan O'Hara. And that's good defensive work on the ruck. And it was Ian Henderson. This is Galea, gives it a bit of width to Fitzhenry. Here is Scott Prince. The pass wide. Great ball, though, from Fulton. Finds Scandalis, but Bradford muscling up in defence. That's tackle number 4. And here they come again with Hodgson. Showed it to Galea, held on to it. It comes wide now to Harrison. And Bronson Harrison with Yestin Harris in front of him. And I know they've scored some cracking tries tonight, Bradford, but if the Bulls come out of this unscathed, this will have a big smile on Brian Noble's face, I think, as Prince ogles the kick out wide. Leslie Vinacolo stops the danger.
What a take. Under so much pressure. And that's good defence as well, leading the way Robbie Farah, but the way he diffused that, that's confidence for you.
Well, Brian Noble will be delighted, not only with the attacking effort, but with the defensive effort there.
I'll tell you what he'd be excited about there, Leslie catching that ball in the air, because he's come up with a miss, and you come up with 2 in modern rugby league. The vultures start to circle and they want to keep peppering away at you. He's just made them stay away from him now.
Why do you look at me when you mentioned the vultures? Look at this, man.
Fielden, bang, bang. They even go high on him and they can't stop him. And he's been up for this challenge from the very first whistle tonight. Whoops, that ball's come free. It's a knock on. And Fielden is wagging a finger at the opposition.
This is unbelievable. He knew he was getting a bit of a facial underneath there. The one thing about this guy as well is that he seems to attract a little bit of trouble every time he gets a ball, mainly because of the fact that he's so effective.
This is Paul Fatuira. He's won grand finals with 2 clubs in the NRL, Penrith, the previous one. Galea, Prince, and Scott Prince. It was a lovely little dummy.
Oh, it's perfect
pass. Perfect pass to Shontaine Harpy.
Well, I don't know whether Harpy called for that, but it was perfect. Oh, go the big man.
He's exciting to watch. The Leslie Vinacolo. So difficult to stop. 34 tries from him, and they get the penalty. 34 tries from him last year, Leslie Vinacolo. And between them, Shontaine Harpy and Leslie Vinacolo, 32 tries in the last 10 matches of 2005. Incredible.
Unbelievable, and that is a major reason why they're having the ability to play for this trophy tonight. It was a great effort by the Bradford Bulls.
Here they come again then. Easton Harris, now it's Andy Lynch.
And remember, of course, the start of last season, they lost their first 2 games. I think it was Wakefield and Widnes, wasn't it, that Bradford lost. And quite a few people were saying things like, they may not make the final. It's a great game. Rugby league, that's why I always say it's the greatest game of all.
Henderson, they nearly lost at Wigan also in the 3rd game. Last minute try, got them home. Here is Withers, and Michael Withers saw a gap and went for it. It would be a sweet moment for the former Balmain man to score, but this now is Paul Johnson.
5.
Withers again. Here is Harris. Harris on the bounce. Carl Price spinning out of the tackles. Carl Price, what an effort. Oh, ball comes back to field and he's on a hat-trick, remember. Langley, the kick for Ben Harris, well fielded by McDonald and brilliantly dealt with, and here comes the counter-attack.
Great work by the winger McDonald, but give credit to this Bradford side, the ability to keep it alive, the offloads. Well, it's just been amazing. In a game that we thought was so tight, that's an error.
Knock on is called against Sam Harris, who celebrated his 26th birthday on Tuesday of this week.
And again, the impact. They are working as a big unit with the Bradford forwards. And we keep mentioning the fact that Marcus Bai looking for work and Leslie Vinacolo.
Head in, mate. Let his head in. Let his head in.
To refer to him, but I mean, just like a runaway express train, isn't he? It's great to watch.
Michael Withers.
First. Hold.
Into the last quarter of this match now. The opening game of 2006.
Second.
Johnson. Super League begins in a week's time. Bradford will be there or thereabouts again. This is Andy Lynch.
Third. Movement.
We've got a nice one in the face from Bryce Gibbs as well.
Harris, and here is Lynch. Oh, lost it under pressure with the try line gaping.
What on earth's happening here?
No advantage.
The referee will bring them back for the knock-on by Lynch.
No advantage, West Tigers, Edinburgh.
Well, he knows that
there's no advantage.
His partner, the prop forward Fielding, has been playing absolutely superb. He thought that he was going to get a touch of glory there. He's played well. He's back to his best.
Okay.
So scrum goes down, head and feed to West Tigers. Can they get back into this, Ian?
Well, at the moment they need field position, the West Tigers, and they're growing. If you can say you're growing in confidence, Bradford, they are. They're getting better, they're getting stronger, they're getting more field position, they get more dominant in the tackle. So, you know, at the moment, they're always coming out their half, trying to conjure something up off their line, and that's hard in rugby league.
Well, they say in Australia, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, Ian, is the fact that the defences will definitely win you the game, and that is what's happened to them. They have just pulverised the West Tigers. They've just given it to them.
There's number 14, Andy Lynch, in the tackle. We've mentioned Stuart Fielden a lot tonight, but Lynch, you know, remember, he played 31 games straight for the Bradford Bulls last year, and then he was left out of the playoffs because of the arrival of one Adrian Morley. I think this fella needs a lot of credit tonight for coming back the way he's come.
You have to agree with that, and don't get me on that situation. I do hope that they've completely done away with that.
Every week there's a competition that takes place amongst your first team squad of players, and that's to get picked in the 17 for the match. You can't worry about anything else to know that you've just got to compete for your place in the team.
I think you'd be not very excited here, Phil. The good players for Bradford today have been Great Britain players, and being the Great Britain manager, that speaks well for your tri-series in Australia next year.
Do you know, I think what's important and interesting again coming to the game, how your players deal with winning the grand finals. You know, it's a big question that hangs over the off-season. Have they relaxed? Are they happy with what they achieved last year? Or are they more determined, and has that success spurred them on to be even better next year? And from the evidence of tonight, it looks as though the Bradford Bulls are going to be even more difficult to play against in Super League this year in the UK.
But a lot of people have said also that the number of players who've gone out of the club has weakened the cause for Bradford. No evidence of that tonight.
Well, I suspected exactly that might be the case when you look at the players who've left the club, but the display with even a couple of players missing like Deacon here tonight, They look a very well-balanced squad with dangerous players, and you know, the biggest impressive thing for me tonight is they've got excited when they've had to defend. All the players have really wanted to defend, get involved, and that's really made such a hard job for the West Tigers that they've been able to compete.
It's Harris now, and here is Stanley Jean again. Good ball back on the inside to Shontaine Harpy. Well, they're all over him. And play on, says the referee. Wisely, Vangenaar.
Third.
They're very close to the West Tigers line. They're close to wrapping up this World Club Challenge. With Stanley Jean. Off the deck, he finds Langley.
4.
Now then, where's Fielden? He'll be looking for the hat-trick, surely.
Jean looking for one himself. He might just have got it.
He has.
Stanley Jean might just have got the try. He has. Well, what a night for Stanley Jean. What a night for Marcus Bai. And what a night it's going to be for the Bradford Bulls. Because I can't see West Tigers coming back now.
No, you're right, Eddie. And you've got to give credit to this fella, you know. Several years ago, he was on the scrap heap. Hull didn't want him. They said that it was past his best. He came to Huddersfield, did them a fine job. And Brian Noble has seen something in this man that he knows he's going to get good quality. And he has repaid his coach very well indeed. He's had an impressive game tonight, and he's thrown the dummy. And competition for places really does lift the side. He's played his part, and he will enjoy that.
Stanley Jean with the try. This is the way it was scored, Phil.
Well, how often's this, isn't it? Working their way downfield again. Again, really, as game's gone on, they've become more and more dominant. And then typically from a Bradford point of view, a try from close range.
Also, you talk, Eddie, in regards to an improvement of a side. And I have seen an improvement from some of these players, even from last year. And that's difficult. And full credit to the coach and the coaching staff at Bradford.
Harris to try and add the extras to Stanley Jean's try, and he does. It's looking very healthy for the Bradford Bulls now. 24 points to 4. Stanley Jean with the latest try, the biggest game of his career, although he did score a hat-trick of tries for Hull Kingston Rovers at Wembley in 1997 in the plate final that they organised that year. But this, certainly the biggest night of his life so far. And here he is again. Well, he nearly was. That was off Joe Vangenaar's knees.
Oh, that was a high shot. Getting a little bit scrappy. Let's hope that it doesn't get out of control.
Go.
This has been a fine performance by the British Grand Final winners. And I think that Tim Sheens and the West Tigers, I think all the players will realise that they have come up against a very, very strong unit, working hard for each other. Remember, he took a big gamble, Brian Noble. Ferris, Matt Cook, not much experience on the bench, but...
Oh, Harris, nice jinking little run. Still going, Easton Harris. Beautiful pass and brilliantly picked up by Stanley. And Stanley Jean, well, he tried to get the ball away, and West just managed to snuff the danger out. But that was looking like it was going to be one heck of a try. But West got back in numbers.
Well, maybe a touch forward, but don't take anything away from the fact that Stanley Jean got himself into that position.
The referee's given a knock on there, and I think he has actually not given credit to West for their defence there, because it was a pass from Stanley Jean that was intercepted by the West player, and it went backwards for me off the West man.
Well, I think it's just deemed that it's no advantage to the West Tigers because they were tackled deep within their own half.
But it wasn't a knock on in the first place, Steve-O. That's the point I'm making.
Well, he has deemed it a knock on.
Yeah. I don't think he's given credit to West for their defence.
Well, they've got nothing to lose now, the West Tigers. They realise the game is completely gone. And as we go towards the final 10 minutes...
Use of the elbow. And a penalty to West Tigers, use of the elbow by young Matt Cook.
Yep.
And rightly so.
There's a bit of a facial there, but they've got nothing to lose now. The Australian side, you know, give something to the crowd perhaps and the viewers back home, in as much they just test their arm. They've got to.
Good night for Bradford, and a good night too for Chris Casely, the chairman of the club, who leaves Odsal at the end of this. He's done a fantastic job in charge of the Bradford club, and he has brought them from their old Bradford Northern days to one of the leading lights in the Super League. And of course he was a major player in the early days of Super League. He was chairman of the Super League, and he leaves the Bradford club in great heart by the looks of it. Although here comes Fatuira, that's good defence.
Great play from both sides, superb offload. But again, as you say, Eddie, the Bradford side get back in numbers. Look at that one line of defence, isn't that superb?
Good tackling as well, and Michael Withers thinks he's playing the ball. Whoops. And
shut up crying.
Bryce Gibbs wasn't happy with that, and Bradford are piling in. There was no way through then for Liam Fulton. Back it comes. There's the kick. He was under pressure. And who wants it? Oh, this is dangerous. This is very dangerous. And Withers comes to the rescue.
How many times has he done that over the last few seasons? Puts himself in a good position. He really wanted it in the end.
Knock on, it was called against West Tigers.
And he's got it right. No doubt about it. Fatuira got the fingertip to it, but good positioning yet again. Been a great servant.
I think he's about to get told off by the referee here, Steve-O. He's been whining and moaning in back play about some of the decisions and some of the incidents that took place. And he says, we're not going on until I've had a word with him.
Pull yourself in. Okay, you may have an opinion, but pull yourself in. Don't look good.
Antipodeans are noted for...
Have you ever been told that before, Steve-O? Pull yourself in?
Oh, many times, Ian, he has, yes, without a doubt.
Being a former hooker?
I don't know why he had to be pulled out, really, by Mr. Ganson for that. Could have easily been spoken to on the run. Anyway, this is Marcus By at dummy half. Ian Henderson plays the ball to him. It's now with Justin Harris. Here is Stanley Jean again. Stanley Jean, he's such a low centre of gravity. He's very difficult to put down. He's going to be a real menace in the Super League this year for Bradford. Big Joe Vanganar. Nobody there, couldn't get the pass away to them anyway. It's Harris, and it's Marcus By, but I'm not so sure that will be given.
Well, I would.
Video referee time.
Let's have a look if the flag went down first.
Did the flag go down before the ball went down?
I think he gets it down. Yep.
Oh, he did as well. Fantastic try from Marcus By.
That's all you need.
Second try of the night.
And with finishing like that, there'll be a big smile on Brian Noble's face when TRY comes up on this one.
Well, the touch judge wasn't sure and the referee not sure, so they had to hand it on to Robert Connolly to have a look at. And Marcus By, well, this time last year the Bradford fans would have been really giving him some stick because it was a Leeds Rhino, but now he's very much a bull.
And we've been talking about the fact that Stanley Jean working hard, it was a good finish, and that's all you need from a winger of this quality. But also give a lot of praise to the Bradford hooker, Ian Henderson. He's had a fine game. He's controlled things in and around the ruck. He created that one, took it on the short wide side.
Great kick from Justin Harris. They hit the 30-point mark. It's 30 points to 4. And what a night for the Papua New Guineans in this Bradford lineup.
Eddie, if the Bulls get within 10 metres of your try line, you better have some red lights flashing because the warning bells are ringing. Yet again, it's a try scored when they get within the close distance of their opponent's line. They've worked hard to get there, but they take their position very, very seriously, and they convert it into points.
3 of Bradford's tries tonight have been scored by men from Papua New Guinea. Marcus By, and Stanley Jean.
First, movement.
30 points to 4. 6 minutes to go.
Tim Sheens and the West Tigers will be licking their wounds somewhat, and I think it'll have borne out what a lot of people thought down under, that okay, they were the champions last year, but they do need some big forwards. That is what they're lacking. We know they've got the quality in the three-quarter line.
Bradford haven't finished yet. They have for the time being.
But it has proved to me, and I'm sure that Tim Sheens is fully aware of that they have been hammered and battered by this Bradford outfit. It's been magnificent, the pack from the Bulls tonight.
Well, this dominance that Super League clubs have over teams from the NRL in the World Club Championship. Okay, most of the games have been held up here. Wigan did go down to Brisbane and win in the Aussies' own backyard once upon a time. But it has been Super League's competition, this, in the recent past.
Well, it is a great advantage to be playing at home. We all know that. But there'll be no excuses, I feel, from Tim Sheens.
What a brilliant pass that was from Brett Hodgson, by the way, to Sam Harris. Aussie fella just came out the back door, and that's why the West Tigers are 20 metres away from the Bradford Bulls line. Here now is Skandalis.
Third, keep coming.
Farah. And just a wrong stud for Hyington. Hodgson and Prince. Brilliant pickup again. Under pressure from Stanley Jean.
And again, we see that wonderful defence from Bradford. They really are working overtime.
Oh, that's a great chip and a great try from Hodgson. Wonderful try from Brett Hodgson, and a wonderful chip over the top as well. Brett Hodgson gets the try. That just takes a little of the gloss off the Bradford performance. Brett Hodgson, 124 goals, 15 tries last year. He topped the NRL points chart in 2005 with 308. Well, there's his first try of 2006.
Well, to be fair, he has been the best on the Australian outfit as a fullback, Brett Hodgson. He's had a lot to do in defence as well. Puts himself into a good position. Nice kick. Went through. It's mere consolation. And perhaps Brian Noble maybe just a little bit upset. But when he just calms down somewhat and realises what a great team effort it has been. Talk about playing as a unit. That is what Bradford have done, and full credit to the fullback. He's had a fine game too.
He adds the extras to his own try. 30 points to 10.
Well, the Bulls have denied the Tigers an opportunity to do this very often by forcing them to play in their own half. On the occasion, good defence, forced a kick on the last tackle, and that kick then, excellent position for Hodgson to convert. We haven't seen a lot of him. He was the Tigers Player of the Year last year. I guess that's credit to Bradford, really, the work they've done defensively to minimise the threat that he poses. Just goes to show the homework that Brian Noble did for this game.
3 minutes to go. World Club Challenge is in the bag for the Bradford Bulls. Next week, the real business begins, the start of the Super League defence. And we will preview everything in Boots and All Wednesday. We'll be first on the air at 6 on Sky Sports 1, repeated again at 9, same night. And the live Super League action next weekend, Castleford Tigers back in the big time against Hull, 7:30 Sky Sports 1. And then Les Catalan Dragons from Perpignan take on the Wigan Warriors next Saturday, 5:45, also on Sky Sports 1. We see the two new boys then next weekend, and this is the sort of standard they have to aim for.
Johnson all over the man.
You can't clockwork on him, you've got to move out the side.
Don't forget also, of course, there is a third new name in Super League 11. It's Harlequins Rugby League, London Broncos as was, and they're at home on Saturday to St Helens. It's a great weekend to start Super League 11. You'll be going early into France, you'll be taking in some of the wine district.
I think the supporters will do that, Eddie, and I'll let our chairman Morris do that. But we'll be going Thursday night with flying out there and coming back Sunday. It's we're the guinea pigs because we're the first team to go out there and try all the motels and the food and the arrangements. But we're looking forward. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's a difficult trip for you. But I'll tell you something. There's a local dish down there called cassoulet. Have a bash. Steve-O's favourite, but for goodness sake, don't feed the players it until Sunday, because if you feed them on Friday or Saturday, they'll never run.
You're right there, Eddie. It's a little bit more heavier than Yorkshire pudding. I'm looking forward to it. Look, this has been a great entree, hasn't it?
Very much so. And again,
we know the main course is coming, and we keep saying it, and we'll get criticised for saying it. He gets bigger and better each year, but I have to say that this will probably be one of the most competitive this season. In the past, you'd probably say, well, you look at 2-3 clubs, they'll be in it. This is going to be fantastic this year.
That's a forward pass. We have 20 seconds to go. Tim Sheens will go home beaten. I think he's resigned to that now. The headphones are off. He's looked at the clock. 15 seconds. But his team have come and they have distinguished themselves in what must be said. It's always a difficult situation for the champion team from the NRL. They've lost here though. Bradford have won by 30 points to 10. Stuart Fielden, certainly a candidate for man of the match. And margin-wise, a record British win in this competition. 30 points to 10, a 20-point winning margin for the Bradford Bulls. Stuart Fielden magnificent tonight. It's been a great team effort from Bradford. It's the springboard they hope will take them on to even greater success later on this year. And how about Carl Price as the new scrum half? He's had a great game, hasn't he?
He certainly has. He's impressed. But they all have. It's been a team effort, and that's the one thing that Brian will be extremely happy about, because there's been a lot of rejigging. They've lost so many of the players that they had in the grand final last year, and perhaps it can affect them, but it hasn't tonight, and that is a silverware. Once again, the silverware will go to the Bradford Bulls. Easton Harris, the new captain. Ian Henderson, they're happy, and rightly so. Every alternate year for the last 6 years they have picked up the trophy, and fully deserved.
Well, you saw there that Bill is alongside the Bradford Bulls' new captain, Easton Harris.
Not a bad start for the new skipper.
Yeah, fantastic. We had a game plan there, and we really stuck to it. And I thought our forwards were absolutely tremendous. They really give it to them in defence. We were high completion rate in attack, and it's a great win for us.
You came out of the traps like a gang of caged beasts, as though you've been fed on red meat for the last couple of months. You're really hungry for this.
We were really hungry. We want success at Bradford, and this is the first of 3 trophies available to us, and we want it desperately. And we knew they'd come a long way halfway around the world. We knew the weather was cold for them, and we just wanted to start like a house on fire, and we certainly did that.
Well, questions were asked about the comings and goings at the Bulls and how that might disrupt things. Looks like business as usual, yes.
Yeah, whatever players come into Bradford, we've got a great team spirit, and I think that showed tonight, and it'll show in every game we play. The team spirit, that's what gets us through. And the players that have come in have done fantastic today, as well as the older players that have been here a while. It was a great result for us.
Apart from a late blip, I suppose defensively it was as satisfying as anything.
It was, yeah. We've had a couple of warm-up games where we've been really well in defence in them, so that's what we pride ourselves at Bradford, and we're going to keep working on that, and hopefully we'll not let as many in as last year.
The only thing is you've got to keep this going for another 8 months now.
We have. It's tough. We've got Wakefield next Sunday in the Super League, and it's going to be real tough to get up for it, but we're looking forward to it.
Well done tonight, Easton.
Cheers.
Stuart Fielden receiving his deserved Man of the Match award from the great Ellery Hanley, whose illustrious career incorporated spells with Bradford and down under with both Balmain Tigers and Western Suburbs. And Stuart Fielden, a deserved Man of the Match. a fantastic performance from the best player in the world right now. Magnificent for Fielden. And the match officials will go up and receive their commemorative medals and awards. But Fielden, it's been a night for him to remember. Sean Wayne in 1987 of Wigan, the only other prop forward to win the Man of the Match award in this World Club Challenge. Great start for Brian Noble to the new season. And the West Tigers, they have journeyed 12,000 miles to be here. They will go up for their losers' medals, led by their captain, Scott Prince. The NRL champions of 2005 came from absolutely nowhere last year. And I think, Steve-o, things will get better for them in 2006.
They certainly will, and I think they've learned a very harsh lesson tonight that you certainly need power when it comes to the crunch games. It was a magnificent grand final in Australia last year, and I know that Tim Sheens will be happy, but he will admit they've been beaten by a very good outfit tonight.
And they will want to do better than the Canterbury Bulldogs, who lost in this corresponding fixture to the Leeds Rhinos last year and never made the playoffs in Australia. Not saying that Leeds knocked them out of the business end of the season because of their victory here at the start of 2005, but if history is anything to go by, West will want to prove that history's bunk.
I think you're right, Eddie, but we've also got to take into account that the salary cap is really, really working now. And that is the reason why I think it's going to get closer this year. We've seen so many different teams pick up the trophy, but this is the one that they wanted tonight. And boy, they came out breathing fire and fully deserved. And what a farewell gift to Chris Casely.
That's the trophy, that's what they're all after. There's the chairman who says farewell to his team and farewell to the Bradford Bulls.
Do you know, I think tonight's been a great way to start the year. We've seen the skills on show from both sides. The real race for the grand final begins for both of these teams. For the West Tigers back in Australia, for the Bradford Bulls in the UK, of course, next week. And I think for the players watching tonight who haven't played, it's given them a target, a focus to aim at. They've had weeks in the gym, weeks on the training field. All of a sudden now, it's here to happen.
All the players having the handshakes. Iestyn Harris at the back of the queue will receive the Carnegie World Club Challenge Trophy. There is silverware back in the Bradford boardroom. And it belongs to Iestyn Harris. It belongs to the Bradford Bulls. And in 2006, Bradford start with the silver.
This program is brought to you by